Yo, what's up? I just wanted to make this video because this is something I was thinking about when I was just in the shower, and I just wanted to get it off my head and make a video because I feel like it can help others out there. Like it would probably help myself just reflecting on it. And so what came into my head was recently I've been meeting a lot of people, just in life, running into them, introducing myself to them, just conversating with people that I know and have been meeting recently. And I feel like a lot of them were sharing, look, throughout our conversations, they've shared their mistakes in life and what they would do differently. And to me, after hearing, it was kind of weird because it was like a lot of people I was meeting were sharing a lot of mistakes that they made, and I'm looking at where it got them in life, this, that, and the third. And so to me, it made me think how I'm not making these mistakes, which could be seen as big or small. At the end of the day, the choices somebody makes is relative to their life. So me stating from an outside perspective, I can never say that objectively they've made a bad mistake in their circumstances because I've never lived a single minute, second in their circumstances. So I'm just saying, for those of you who feel like you're making a lot of wise decisions based off of mistakes other people have made, it's not, okay, let me restart. For me, I was thinking that, okay, throughout my life, I've heard a lot of other people's mistakes, what they did wrong and where that got them. And I feel like that in my shoes, I've made a lot of decisions to avoid the same mistakes that other people have warned me about. And in doing that, after not even reflecting, but a thought popped in my head, it's like I'm avoiding all these mistakes that I'm seeing other people make, and yet it doesn't look like there's anything better or more beneficial happening in my life compared to the same people that are making these mistakes. And so if I could reword that, it's like I'm seeing the mistakes people make. I'm seeing where they are. They're not terrible off, but they're somewhere. And I feel like for me, I'm avoiding these same mistakes, but instead of somewhere, I feel like I'm nowhere. But I wanted to make this video to remind myself and other people that may have shared that same thought system that I'm avoiding the mistakes I'm watching, but it doesn't look like it's getting me anywhere. I want to remind you that, especially in situations where you look at the people around you and it's like everybody around me is making these mistakes, and I'm making the decision to not make the same mistakes they're making. However, it still feels like they're somewhere and I'm nowhere. But I want to remind you that if you feel that everybody around you is making like decisions that you have learned and are wise enough not to make, and you're finding a hard time finding people that are making those wise decisions that you're deciding to make, it's only because they're in higher situations in life. What I mean by that is they're further along in life with more robust lifestyles. So therefore, where you are starting off, you're not going to run into them as frequently as you run into people who are making these poor decisions. So even though you're surrounded by people making poor decisions and you see like, okay, they got their thing going on, me personally, I'm not going to decide to make that decision because of where I see it takes you, but it still looks like there's somewhere instead of nowhere. I want to remind you that you making these wise decisions aren't taking you nowhere. It's just taking you into a place where the other people who are making wise decisions are, which you're not seeing in your current life. And I'm not saying this to diminish or downgrade or just disrespect people who are living their life off of quote unquote wrong decisions, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's all relative compared to whose life it is. So I'm not saying that just because they made this decision, you're better than them or you're gonna lead to a higher place than them. And a matter of fact, I take that back. It's not that they're in a higher, robust way of living. They're just in a separate. Yeah, I want to change that. I don't want it to be one's higher, one's lower. It's just one's different. So when you're over here with all these people making these decisions, you're like, okay, I don't want to live these type of lives. There's nothing wrong with that. You're just gonna end up on this side. And when you're in an area like this, you don't see this side until you finally make it over there after you keep going. So that's how I want to put it. I want to put it where it's one on this side and it's one on the other. It's not one higher or lower. It's just how you decide to live your life. And I just want to remind y'all that if you feel like you're making wise decisions, but it's not taking you nowhere, it's just taking you nowhere you've been before, so you wouldn't be able to recognize the trajectory on which you're headed. But that's the end of this video. I hope y'all was able to understand and pick up what I was trying to say, and that it was helpful. I'll see y'all later. I'm not gonna edit this video, so I'm trying to look, I just did it there. I'm trying to cut out the there again. I'm trying to cut out the filler words so that these unedited, more raw videos are more clear cut and not filled with all these filler words and more professional. So for this being my first video without cutting out all those words, since I'm not editing it out, it's gonna be more adamant in me trying not to use it. Because when I'm editing, I can just cut it out, and keep going. But when I'm not editing these, it's more needed for me not to use those type of filler words. That was a side tangent, but I hope y'all enjoyed.